There are moments in life when everything feels as if it is pressing down on you all at once. Financial pressure, family responsibilities, unfinished plans, and dreams that once seemed within reach suddenly drift farther away. You keep running, trying to stay strong, trying to appear unshaken, but deep inside you know your strength is fading. And in that very moment the words come to me, "All who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, become more alive than ever." God sees every burden you are carrying. He sees the worries you don't dare speak out loud. There are nights when you cannot sleep, troubled by fears about tomorrow. There are days when you work in silence, not because you are fine, but because you no longer have the strength to say another word. And you whisper, "Lord, are you listening to me?" The answer is yes, he hears you. God has never been distant. He stands right beside you, even when you cannot feel him. He doesn't wait for you to become perfect before he comes near. He doesn't require you to be strong before he can lift you up. He comes to you in your weakest moments because he knows that is when you need him the most. Life can sometimes feel like a violent storm. It overwhelms you, pushes you out of your comfort zone, and leaves you feeling as though you have nothing solid to hold on to. But God does not allow you to be swept away. He is the solid rock beneath your feet, the only place where you can stand without fear of being carried off by the winds. And for him to work in your life, all he asks is one thing: come to him with a genuine heart. There are times when God seems silent, but his silence is not abandonment. It is a pause, a sacred space where you learn that human strength has limits, but his strength is limitless. He waits for you to release your burden so he can lift them. He waits for you to admit that you cannot carry everything on your own so he can step in and act in ways beyond your imagination or understanding. Maybe today you are facing lack. Maybe you are drowning in debt. Maybe you are afraid of what the future holds. But remember this: where there is lack, there is room for God's provision. Where there is helplessness, there is room for God's power. You are not meant to be strong every day. You do not need to hide your exhaustion from God. He loves you enough to see you in your most fragile state and still open his arms to receive you. He wants you to come to him not with a mask of strength, but with a heart of honesty. And when you begin to pray, when you truly open your heart and say, "Lord, I cannot do this without you," that is the very moment he begins to move. Not because your prayer is powerful, but because the one you pray to is all-powerful. Let this be the beginning of a new journey, one where you no longer fight alone, but fight with God's strength, walk under his guidance, and live in the provision he has prepared for you long before you even asked. There is a truth that even long-time believers sometimes forget. God not only hears your prayers, he feels the heart behind them. A powerful prayer is not measured by how long it is, nor by how beautifully it is spoken. A powerful prayer is one that comes from honesty, from pain, from humility, and from a small but genuine faith placed in him, and prayers like that are never ignored by God. There are nights when you sit before God with nothing left to say, just a sigh, a quiet tear, or even complete silence. But even that silence becomes a prayer in his presence. God is not searching for perfection. He is searching for authenticity. Have you ever wondered why your heart feels lighter the moment you whisper, "Lord, please help me," even when you don't know what else to pray? It is because at that moment, you are placing all your weakness and all your hope into his hands. A sincere prayer is also a prayer rooted in trust. Trust not in human ability, but in the power of God. When you ask for his provision, he does not look at your current situation. He looks at the plan he already prepared for you long before you realized you needed help. He knows what is good for you, what is enough for you, and what will strengthen you for the storms ahead. Sometimes you ask for something small, but God desires to give you far more. That is why prayer is not your last option. Prayer is the doorway to God's supernatural intervention. When you pray with your whole heart, something changes not only around you but inside you. You start to see God's fingerprints on events that once seemed random. You begin to understand that closed doors were never the end but redirections toward greater provision. You realize that even delays are not denials. They are divine timing, and above all you recognize that God has never left you, not even once. Prayer is also the moment where peace returns to your soul. In a world filled with noise, pressure, and anxiety, a few minutes in God's presence can become the most powerful healing you receive all day. When you talk to him, your thoughts settle, your faith deepens, and you begin to see life through the eyes of hope rather than fear. God listens to every word you speak, every breath you take, every step you make. Nothing is too small for His attention, and nothing is too great for His power. And if you are watching this video right now, take a moment to leave a like or comment, Amen, as an outward declaration of your faith that God is listening to your prayer in this very moment. That small action not only helps spread God's message to others, but it is also your way of saying, Lord, I believe you are working in my life. When your heart is aligned with God, your prayers become far more powerful than you realize. God does not measure your prayer by your level of desperation, but by your level of trust. And when you ask for His help, His guidance, and His provision, He will answer not only in His perfect timing, but in ways that go beyond anything you can imagine. So keep praying, keep believing, and keep your heart open, because every whisper, every tear, and every word you lift up is carried straight to the throne of the Almighty. There are moments when you pray for God's help, but what follows seems confusing. Instead of opening a door immediately, He allows you to walk through a slower, longer, and sometimes more difficult path. Yet hidden within those steps that seem unreasonable, God is quietly preparing something far greater than what you asked for. Because God does not bless only according to your immediate need. He blesses according to the future He already sees. Have you noticed that many of the greatest blessings in life begin with waiting? Winter must be cold enough for spring to bloom. A seed must remain in the darkness before it can rise to the surface. And people, too, must go through seasons of stillness, pruning, and delay before they can bear fruit in the right time. God does not act according to human urgency. He acts according to divine wisdom. He sees what you cannot see, knows what you cannot know, and understands what you cannot yet grasp. Sometimes you think God has not answered, but in reality He has already answered, just not in the way you expected. Perhaps He is removing relationships that are not meant for your future. Perhaps He is closing doors you do not realize would hurt you later. Perhaps He is pulling you away from habits, environments, or mindsets that are limiting your growth. And one day, when you understand His arrangement, you will whisper, "Thank you, Lord, for not giving me what I thought was best." God does not answer according to your desire, but according to what is truly good for you. When God prepares to provide, He begins at the roots. He doesn't just give a temporary solution. He positions you for long-term blessing. You ask for enough money to get through today. But God wants to give you wisdom so you will not fall into lack again. You ask for one door to open, but He intends to build you an entire path. You ask for help, but He wants to bring transformation. And transformation often begins within you. God changes your heart before He changes your circumstances. When you learn to trust Him in seasons of scarcity, you will be stronger when you enter seasons of abundance. He teaches you patience so you will appreciate what He gives. He teaches you humility so you will not fall into pride when He lifts you up. He teaches you compassion so that when you receive blessing, you will know how to share it. You are not only being provided for, you are being prepared. Even more astonishing is the way God turns situations around. He can take a failure and turn it into the foundation for creativity. He can take pain and turn it into wisdom. He can take a closed door and turn it into the key for a greater future. Nothing in God's hands is wasted. No season in your life is meaningless. Every moment, even the ones you don't understand, is part of the journey He is guiding you through. There are times when you ask, "Why isn't God helping me right now?" But later, when you look back, you will understand. If God had given you what you wanted too early, you wouldn't have had the maturity to keep it. God not only gives blessing, He protects blessing. And sometimes His way of protecting you is by delaying the answer. It is love in a form that people often don't recognize immediately. Remember this: God has never failed in anything He has arranged. If you are standing in a difficult place, know that this is not the end. It is simply the middle of the story. And every story God writes ends with restoration, provision, and greater purpose. Don't judge God's work by the chapter you are currently in. He is not done yet, and because of that, you must not give up. So keep believing, keep praying, keep standing firm, because when God moves, He does not simply change your situation. He transforms your entire life. There are moments in life when the weight you carry becomes overwhelming. Moments when your strength is not enough, when your plans fall apart, and when your heart feels exhausted from trying. But these are also the very moments when God draws closest. His presence does not always arrive with thunder or miracles that shake the earth. Sometimes, His presence comes quietly, like a breath of peace settling over your soul, reminding you that you are not alone. God understands every struggle you face. Before you even speak a word, He already knows the pain behind it. Before you shed a tear, He has already prepared comfort for you. And before you ask for provision, He has already set aside blessings meant specifically for your path. This is why walking with God is not about avoiding difficulties. It is about knowing that every difficulty becomes a doorway for His strength to be revealed in your life. When you surrender your worries to God, something powerful happens. The chains of fear loosen, the noise inside your mind quiets, and your heart becomes open to receive divine guidance. God's wisdom often comes in gentle impressions, an unexpected idea, a sudden sense of peace, or a clear direction that you feel deep within. His voice speaks strongest when your heart is still. And when you make room for Him, He fills that space with clarity you could never produce on your own. There are seasons when God allows you to walk through the fire, not to destroy you, but to refine you. Just as gold must endure the flame to reveal its purest form, your faith sometimes must pass through difficulty so that its beauty can be seen. But remember this: God never leaves you in the fire alone. His protection surrounds you even when circumstances look impossible. His grace covers you even when you feel unworthy. And His provision follows you even when you cannot see the way forward. God's help often appears in 3 stages. First, He strengthens you so you can stand. Second, He guides you so you can walk the right path. And finally, He provides exactly what you need so you can keep going without fear. This is the rhythm of divine support, strength, guidance, and provision. And anyone who places their life in His hands will experience this rhythm again and again. There will be days when discouragement whispers, "You are failing." But God responds with a louder truth: "My grace is sufficient for you." There will be moments when you think the door has closed forever. But God is already preparing another door, one that leads to a greater blessing than what you lost. His timing may feel slow, but it is never late. His plan may feel unclear, but it is always perfect. And His love may be invisible to the eye, but it is undeniable to the heart that seeks Him. So in the quiet of your soul, stand firm. Trust that God is working in ways you cannot yet see. Trust that the burden you carry will not break you. Trust that the path ahead, though uncertain to you, is already secured by His hands. For when God steps in, no challenge can overpower you, no fear can paralyze you, and no darkness can overshadow the light He places within you. Let your heart rest in Him, for the God who created the universe is the same God who walks beside you today, holding your future with unwavering love and unstoppable strength. After walking through seasons of trial, after enduring long nights filled with anxiety and days weighed down by uncertainty, one truth becomes clear: God has always been there, and He has never abandoned you. He not only hears your prayers but also works quietly in the details of your life, guiding, sustaining, and providing in ways you may never have imagined. When you look back, you will see that what once seemed like failures or hardships were actually the foundation for growth and blessings that God had prepared long before you even asked. God's provision is not limited to meeting physical needs or resolving immediate problems. It also encompasses the transformation of your heart, your mind, and your perspective on life. When you learn to trust Him in every circumstance, you begin to recognize that nothing happens without His awareness, and no challenge is too great for Him to lead you through. He teaches patience, instills gratitude, and shapes your heart to love so that you become a person of strength, humility, and overflowing compassion. There will be times when you feel discouraged, believing that your efforts are in vain. But remember this: every step you take in faith is recorded. Every prayer, every tear, every small act of obedience is never wasted. God works in ways unseen in moments you may feel hopeless. And when He moves, the outcome surpasses all your expectations. His timing may seem mysterious, His methods may seem unusual, but His provision is always sufficient, perfectly timed and divinely orchestrated. A vital aspect of spiritual life is patience and prayer. When you wait faithfully and continue to trust God, clarity begins to emerge. Your heart experiences peace, your path in life becomes clearer, and opportunities that once seemed impossible start to unfold. God's provision may not always arrive in the form you expect, but it always arrives at the right moment, in the right way, and in full measure. This is the unwavering promise God has made to His beloved children, and it is one you can rely on without hesitation. Beyond receiving, God also calls you to live in gratitude and extend blessings to others. When you receive provision, do not keep it only for yourself. Open your heart to love, to help, and to lift up those around you. True blessing is not just what you receive, it is also what you give. When you live in God's provision, your life becomes a source of hope and inspiration to others, and through you, God's work continues to move powerfully in the world. Before we conclude, here is a simple yet meaningful reminder. If the messages in this video have inspired or strengthened your faith, consider subscribing to the channel. By doing so, you will not only receive more encouragement and guidance, but you will also help spread God's message of hope, love, and faith to many others. Subscribing is a small action, but it can have a powerful spiritual impact, connecting you with a community that walks together in faith and growth. Keep moving forward in faith. Continue praying, continue trusting, and keep your heart open to the provision God has prepared for you. No matter how difficult today may feel, remember this: God is near, He loves you deeply, and He will act to bring your life into abundance, peace, and blessing. Let faith guide your steps, and let God's provision be the driving force behind every step you take.